Hi, this is Tibor Lak. I am a retired aerospace engineer. I worked on the space program for over 40 years. And I prepared a presentation on Noah's flood, Ice Age, the age of dinosaurs, and the division of the continents. I know you will like it because I am giving you evidence and proof of what happened from a biblical perspective that you will not find in the evolutionary material. Please listen to it. Your whole view of the Bible and Noah's flood will change forever. Thank you and enjoy it. I never thought much about the continental separation, to be frank, to be honest with you, because I was so influenced by the theory of evolution that, of course, they claim that the continental separation occurred hundreds of millions of years ago. And you'll see the basis for that time, hundreds of millions of years ago. So I thought, well, maybe they're right. But according to the past, there was a single continent called Pangea. As you can see, the continents that are all united. Now, may not have been the way it looked like, but it was one. So this guy, who was the father of the continental separation, he realized that there were dinosaur fossils on Africa and South America that are now separated by thousands of miles. Also, this guy, Mesosaurus, he was on Africa, India, and Antarctica. Wow, that's interesting. And then this guy, Mesosaurus, was both Africa and South America. So he concluded if they were there and they found fossils, it must mean that these were land animals that they could go back and forth. So they had to be connected. They had to be a land bridge. Another interesting thing that he pointed out is that there's a large quantity of fossil coal that is present in the Arctic region, which right now doesn't have any vegetation, even in Antarctica. So he concluded that correctly, that Antarctica could not have been always at the South Pole. And then, of course, you saw these that where the continents kind of fit together, showing that they one time were together. Same type of rock on both sides of the Atlantic, on America, England, all the way to Scandinavia. So when did the continents separate? So again, no one can measure that. No one can know independently when the continents separated. What they base it on is the fossil record, that because according to evolution, this particular dinosaur, according to them, lived 250 to 300 million years ago. Therefore, the continents had to divide 250 to 300 million years ago. That's the logic behind it. There's no science behind it. This is just based on a theory. So the Bible talks about the continental drift, and I'm constantly amazed that the Bible talks about things that we discover, thousands of years later, but it's there. It made a comment. It talked about that. And you probably have read this before, that about 100 years after the flood, this person, whose name is Peleg, it makes a comment that in his days was the earth divided. It just makes a side note. And this is found in both in Genesis 10:25 and also in 1 Chronicles 1:19. In his days was the earth divided. So because Peleg only lived 35 years before he had his descendant, it means that it wasn't 136 years, because then the next guy would have been attributed for the continental divide. It had to be within his lifetime. So the continental drift is in the Bible. So now what's interesting is that the word that is used for divide is the word peleg, and it means split or separate. There's a different word that is used for for the division of the nations. This word is only used once in Genesis 10 and 1 Chronicles when it talks about the earth being divided. There's another word that is used for the division of nations. It's called Pered. And this is the reference that says, these are the families of the sons of Noah that after their generation, and by these were the nations divided, Parad, not Peleg. So there's a difference. It clearly points to the fact that 2,300 years ago when Peleg was alive is when the continents divided. Okay, I did a simplified model. Like I said, I love analysis and I kind of enjoy it. And when the answers come out right, I get really excited. But this is so complicated. You know, try to model the continental motion due to convection of the magma. I mean, it's impossible. And no one has done that. No one has tried to come up. They accept the 250, 300 million year time period as being the time, because they thought, you know, these continents are far apart, they're big. I mean, they have to move slow and they have to take time to get there. But I did an analysis, a very simple analysis, because you can do things like that without understanding all the details. So we know that right now the continent of Africa and South America are about 4,300 miles apart. And we also know that oops, sorry, I gave it away. I didn't want to do that. Okay. And also, I didn't see this. So also these continents today are moving at 2 centimeters per year. So they say it's the same speed as your fingernail is growing out on your finger. So we have 3 data points. You have the time when it started. You have the distance that it has to be now, 4,300 miles, and the speed at which it's moving is 2 centimeters per year. So you can make an assumption, without, like I said, knowing all the details, you can say, well, the speed is proportional to the distance. In other words, when the continents were closer to each other, then they were moving faster. As they moved apart, they slowed down. The reason they're slowing down is because more mass is being added by the magma to the continental plates. So it's like pushing on a block. When it's lighter, you can push it faster, but when it gets heavier, you push it slow with the same force. So without knowing all of that, you can make an assumption, well, is that speed versus distance, is it proportional, linear, 1 for 1? Or does it have some higher second order function? So I did both of them to see what, excuse me, and I wanted to see if this started at 2300 BC, how fast did the breakaway speed had to be for the continents to move into the place where they are now and move at this 2 centimeter per year rate? So this is the answer. It came out that the speed varies for the 2 assumptions 3 to 7 miles per year. Now, to put that in perspective, a garden snail moves at 250 miles per year. So this is like more than 1/10 the speed of a garden snail moving. So it wasn't like, here we go, the continents are dividing and we got to hold on to a tree, otherwise we fall down. It's very slow. And what it was showing is that it didn't take millions of years or hundreds of millions of years. And again, that number only comes as an assumption. But it showed that by the time you get to King David of Israel, the continents are like 90 to 97% in place for where they are right now. So it happened very fast, and it doesn't require hundreds of millions of years for these plates to get into place. Okay, so what about that? So here's the interesting thing. Is there really no adequate explanation of how animals after the flood and humans after the flood got to these remote areas? If the continents were separated by thousands of miles as they are today, the animals, the humans, would have a hard time migrating to Australia, or for the animals to migrate to South America. So this is a picture, and I apologize for going through fast here, but this is what you are taught in school, that the animals migrated from Asia to South America through the Bering Straits. So that sounds like a good story, but the problem is that there are tropical animals that live here that don't live here in the Arctic. You can't have, tropical animals that live in the jungle that don't live here to end up here. Otherwise, they have to swim the ocean, and So this is a key part of the Bible scenario because it completes everything. It shows that humans could travel from where the ark landed to the remotest parts of China within a year by walking at a leisurely rate. Animals could migrate from the ark to the remote parts of the earth, to South America, Australia, in a very short time. And it's important. And evolution and science doesn't have an answer. They don't know how these animals got there. Okay, so, how did I do that? I went backwards. Okay, so just to close out, these are the animals that live in the South American jungle, and so they could not have evolved across the Bering Strait and end up on their own. So I am on my last slide, so thank you for your patience. But so again, there's evidence for the continent divide that it occurred at the time of the flood. So there was one event, was the water levels rising cover everything, the sand and ice covering everything, destroying all life form, fossilizing, forming permafrost, and entombing all these animals. So this was a mass extinction event. I would like to show you this, because this is, I told you I have a scorecard that I want to show you. So what did we learn? Before my last chart, I want to show you. Dinosaurs and mammals lived at the same time per the carbon-14 dating. The flood occurred 2400 BC. All living things, including dinosaurs, died at once, just like the Bible said, all flesh. I gave you an explanation of how the ice was formed on Greenland and Antarctica, the super ice, cold temperature. How permafrost was formed. Again, it's a mixture of ice. Continental separation started 2300 BC. Humans and animals could migrate to the remotest part. And by the way, I threw this in here because I know people talk about the gap theory. And the gap theory is what's happened in Genesis chapter 1, the first verse, which says that, and God created heaven and the earth became dark and void. So people have interpreted that to mean that the earth becoming dark and void represents a catastrophe where Satan destroyed God's original creation, namely the dinosaurs, and God had to recreate it. Well, it didn't happen. It happened recently at the flood. So the gap theory is completely wrong. Also, the water canopy theory is wrong, because the water didn't come from the upper atmosphere, come down. It came from down below, because that's what the Bible says. Now my final chart. So this is a scorecard. I don't know how well you can read it, but I'll read it to you. So I have two columns. I have evidence that was explained by evolution or the scientific community and the Bible. The first one is that why did Sahara turn from green to desert 5,000 years ago? Cricket, cricket, cricket. Why are there large sand dunes hundreds of feet deep on the Sahara all the way to the Gobi Desert? No answer. What caused the early civilization suddenly to come to an end around 4000 BC? No answer. What caused the Ice Age? No answer. How was the super cold ice deposited on Greenland at minus 32 degrees and Antarctica minus 53 degrees? No answer. Why is there silt, mud, mixed with fine ice at the bottom of the 10,000 feet Greenland ice core? No answer. Why is there ice on Greenland if it was deposited 190,000 years ago? It should have been already melted about 50,000 years ago. No answer. How was permafrost formed, and why are there thousands of prehistoric animals buried in all over the Arctic? No answer. Why is there carbon-14 in dinosaur soft tissue? It's supposed to be gone in 50,000 years. No answer. Why are dinosaurs and prehistoric mammals found in permafrost? No answer. Why are there dinosaur fossils frozen in ice on Antarctica? And again, not under the ice, but in ice. No answer. Why does carbon-14 dating of dinosaur soft tissues and mammoth give the same date of 20 to 40,000? No answer. And by the way, as I showed you, there can be as much as 20,000 year error depending on what the early atmosphere was like. Why are there mammals fossil after the last mass extinction 65 years ago? No answer. How did animals that live in the South American jungle get there if the continents separated 250 million years ago before mammoths and tropical birds evolved? What single event caused the fossilization of dinosaurs all over the world? Sand and water. No answer. Why does Greenland ice temperature show that it was deposited 2400 BC? No answer. Why is current world population level 7.6 billion if man had been around for 10,000 years? So this is my final scorecard to show you that the theory of evolution has a lot of holes. They cannot explain. When they don't have an answer, they just ignore it, and they keep going and promoting their theory, because the alternate is to accept the Bible version, and that's a no-no to them. They do not want to deal with that, so they'll stick with it. And so you be aware what the evidence is there. So, well, thank you so much. Thanks for your attention. You guys are awesome. Thank you. Thank you.